Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today we are diving into the book, The Overachievers Reset, a better way to succeed without losing yourself. Look, if you are an executive, an entrepreneur, or honestly just someone whose internal engine is constantly running at 1,000 miles an hour, you're going to want to pay extremely close attention. Think of this explainer as your tactical roadmap, designed specifically for high performers like us. We're going to explore exactly how you can maintain that fierce ambition and massive impact, but, without literally burning your life to the ground in the process.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the author, Fleur Marks, knows the absolute dark side of ambition intimately. She didn't just study this from the sidelines, she lived it. We're talking about going from a high-flying leader constantly in demand to someone who literally couldn't get out of bed. For 20 years, she was a relentless overachiever in these hyper-pressurized agency leadership roles. But that lifestyle eventually caught up with her, and in the most jarring way imaginable. Her chronic stress practically exploded into a terrifying, life-threatening health crisis, a rare autoimmune disease that actually reached her brain, which was then, incredibly, followed by a cancer diagnosis. Her body essentially handed her the bill for 2 decades of overworking, and bam, her entire high-flying career identity just vanished overnight.
Which, of course, brings us to a deeply uncomfortable question. I want you to ask yourself honestly right now, is your ambition the very thing breaking you? We often look at our insanely packed calendars, feel absolutely empty inside, and we just tell ourselves, oh, it's just a busy season, I just gotta push through. But Fleur's story is a massive wake-up call. It forces us to hold up a mirror. She highlights how the exact traits that made you so successful in the first place, your intense drive, your dedication, those sky-high standards, might actually be quietly destroying your health and your sense of self. I mean, what happens when your so-called busy season turns out to be a permanent state of overload?
And this brilliantly illustrates what is happening just beneath the surface. Fleur calls it the overachiever cycle. Think of it like a completely invisible internal operating system running in the background of your brain. Honestly, it's a glitch in how we process success. It treats exhaustion as this weird badge of honor and completely normalizes sacrificing yourself just for the sake of output. It's a highly destructive, always-on mindset. And the result? People become wildly successful outwardly, but inwardly, they are running on absolute fumes. You might look fantastic on paper, but you're stuck on a treadmill where literally no amount of achievement ever actually feels like enough.
To figure out if you're currently trapped in this cycle, Fleur breaks this operating system down into what she calls the 5 Ps of overachieving: perfectionism, people-pleasing, proving, pushing through, and performing. I want to use this as an emotional mirror for you right now to sort of self-diagnose your own burnout levels. When the pressure suddenly gets turned way up at work, or a massive deadline is looming, which of these 5 Ps do you immediately default to?
Let's actually unpack the harsh reality of these habits, because they are incredibly insidious. If your go-to is perfectionism, your rule is basically flawless or fail, which means you're probably holding back brilliant ideas just because they aren't perfect yet. Then there's people-pleasing, meaning you give your absolute best energy to everyone else, leaving a grand total of 0 for yourself. Proving? That one is just exhausting. It means treating your self-worth like a daily resetting bank account. You feel like you have to earn your value all over again every single morning. Then we have pushing through, which is that toxic belief that rest equals weakness. It's treating a standard lunch break like a total myth and wearing your exhaustion like some kind of medal. And finally, performing. Showing up every single day with a mask of absolute control while silently fracturing underneath it all.
Now, recognizing those toxic patterns, that's step 1. But how on earth do we actually get out of this trap, right? Well, the good news is there is a clear turning point. Marks outlines 3 essential internal mindset shifts. And hey, let me be crystal clear. This is not about lowering your standards or doing less just for the sake of being lazy. Not at all. These 3 shifts are absolutely mandatory to break that destructive cycle and rebuild a genuinely strong, sustainable internal foundation.
So, the crucial point is understanding this first major shift. Think about our old way of operating. I am what I accomplish. We've all been there, tying our entire identity directly to our output. But the reset perspective demands a total rewrite. It says, your worth is inherent. Achievement is just something you do. Fleur calls this the saying enough already moment. You absolutely have to interrupt that never-ending loop of constantly trying to prove your value through your next win. Listen, your identity and your results, they're 2 completely separate things. You've got to recognize that you are already enough, right here, right now.
The second shift, it's all about dropping the masks.
The old way tricks us into thinking that performing perfection makes us feel safe. We hold that rigid, flawless facade up because we're terrified of anyone seeing us struggle. We think that's what strong leadership looks like, right? But the reset teaches us something entirely different. Authentic impact actually requires vulnerability. You have got to stop performing. The world, and your team, if you're a leader, desperately needs your real, authentic self, not some polished but fracturing performance. Once you stop wasting so much mental energy trying to look perfect, you can finally channel all that power into genuine leadership. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the third shift, loosening your grip. Us high performers, we absolutely love the old way, trying to micromanage and control every single possible outcome. We practically try to wrestle the universe into submission. But the reset is all about intentionally focusing only on what you choose to control. And here's the kicker. Letting go of that rigid, perfectionist death grip doesn't mean you stop caring. Ironically, when you stop stressing over every tiny, uncontrollable detail, you actually yield much higher impact performance. You step out of the frantic weeds and start driving with real, genuine purpose.
Okay, I know exactly what some of you high achievers are thinking right now. Does resetting my life mean I have to become some boring Zen monk who only drinks tap water and stares at a blank wall? Absolutely not. In fact, a massive part of Fleur's own reset was reclaiming joy through, get this, a commitment to disco-themed sparkly fashion. I absolutely love this. Despite going through a terrifying massive life reckoning, she refused to give up her unapologetic love for sparkly clothes. She even slapped a disco theme right on her book cover. She jokingly calls it shallow, and she totally owns it. The profound lesson here is that resetting doesn't mean becoming austere or boring or losing your edge. You do not have to become joyless to become sustainable.
Let's move to and see how this builds into your daily life. Because honestly, this reset has to actually stick day to day. Today, Fleur runs her own consultancy, she leads programs, she travels all the time. She is still incredibly ambitious, but the difference is she makes excellence sustainable. You have to redefine success so that it actually includes you, your health, your relationships, your sanity. You need to set seriously brave boundaries to protect your bandwidth. Working smarter isn't just a cheap productivity hack. It is literally the only way to sustain brilliance over a multi-decade career. And you pull this off through daily micro-rituals. For Fleur, that means beach walks, meditation, and, this is key, 3 non-negotiable 10-minute breaks built into every single day. The point is, you don't have to lower your ambitions. You just have to fundamentally upgrade your execution.
I want to leave you with a deeply provocative thought, drawn straight from Fleur's journey. If your body forced a full stop tomorrow, just pulled the emergency brake on everything, what identity would you rebuild first? It's a heavy, incredibly powerful question, and it's one you really need to ask yourself today, before the choice is made for you. Take a minute to reflect on that, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.